Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Connecting with Kim here on Tampa Bay Arts and Education Network. We're so grateful you joined us today. We have another great show coming up. You can also catch the audio of our show on Sun Radio, 96.3 FM, and on your favorite streaming platform. And I ask that you follow me on my Instagram, Facebook, and X account so that you can find out all the information about our guests, all the information about the show, and of course my on-air wardrobe, which is supplied by the Spring of Tampa Bay, my sponsor. The Spring of Tampa Bay provides safe spaces and empowering services for survivors of domestic violence and their children, and they do a great job. And they're going to be on the show later this season to talk about all the new things that are going to be happening to them this year. It's going to be another big year for them. So, again, glad you joined us here. We have a first-timer in the chair, and I've been looking forward to this interview for so long, and I'm so grateful that he took time out of his schedule to be with us today. So let me introduce you to Mr. Ron Pierce, who's the President and CEO of RSA Consulting. Welcome.
Kim, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, believe me. So, we always start the show the same way. I allow my guests to share a little bit about their life journey, and I think it's important because you never know when somebody listening and watching out there has shared something common with you. They went to the same school, or they went to the same university, or did the same kind of work, whatever it is, and it's always a good connection to make with them.
Sure. No, thank you. And, you know, what's funny is I always start with, I did not grow up to be a lobbyist, by the way. I think very few people in the legislative process, everybody takes different paths to kind of get to where they're going to get to, either from a staff standpoint or from an elected official standpoint. And, you know, when I was in college, I did not prepare like this. It was not like a lifetime goal of, I'm going to become a lobbyist someday. So went to Manatee Community College, grew up down in Sarasota, spent 2 years there, went up to Florida State University, got my bachelor's in English there. Thought for sure I was going to go off and become an attorney. Had the opportunity to start working on a couple of political campaigns, and my path took a major shift in what I was going to do at that point in time. So graduated from FSU, worked on a couple of campaigns. Actually, one of my first jobs in the process was with Sandy Berman, who at that point in time was a state house member, went on to become a county commissioner, and still very involved as a community leader locally. Spent a couple of years there, worked 1 year for John Grant. His last year as a state senator in 2000, then had the opportunity to go to work for State Senator Tom Lee, who you know very well, spent 6 years with him. Just an unbelievable opportunity spending 6 years with him from a learning standpoint and from a mentor standpoint. You know, Senator Lee gave me every opportunity to learn and learn about the process, put me in leadership positions, had 2 years, spent 2 years in the Senate President's office when he was Senate President, just an incredible opportunity. Leaving there, you think, again, if I was in a lobby at that point in time, you go out work as a, within a lobbying firm, I would do it at that point. I didn't. Left then President Lee's office to go work for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I'm going to tell you, that was an incredible opportunity. Loved every minute of it. Being able to combine my love of professional sports with the opportunity to do government relations. Right. Spent 3 years there. And then in 2009, I was presented with the opportunity to start my own firm, RSA Consulting. Left the Lightning in 2009. My first client out of the gate was the Tampa Bay Lightning. They're still a client today. And started with me and 3 clients and have built the firm up now to 10 employees and nearly 100 clients, not only throughout the state of Florida, but the nation as well.
Congratulations, that's so wonderful. Yeah. You know, they say, I mean, you know my mother, and so I come from a political background, everybody knows that. And, but they say, that once that gets in your blood, you can't get it out. You can try, but you can't get it out. I think it's interesting with your degree in English that you were thinking about being an attorney. But I guess it kind of made, the synergy there, words are powerful, right? And that's what law is about.
Well, I always say words matter, and I was going to go to law school. I do have my MPA. I went back to USF, by the way, and I was working for then President Lee, got my MPA. But it was funny, the only reason I was an English major at that point in time was because it was the #1 accepted major going to law school. But words do matter. So I will tell you, the communication background has been a huge benefit to me because it's perfect for writing laws and dealing with elected officials. My major on English was creative writing, so that's perfect for having to deal with the world
The
of politics.
synergy between that and lobby is perfect, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, words do matter, and you and I, having spent a lot of time in the sausage factory up there in Tallahassee, know that words matter. I just came through an experience working on legislation where I got it. I came from a business background with IBM where words mattered, but I got a kind of a brand new lesson in words matter this past session. So that's kind of, what was you weren't anticipating being a lobbyist, so what was the impetus to say, I'm going to start my own firm and be a lobbyist?
That's a great question. So working for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I'm working for the Lightning serving on all these community boards. So at the Lightning, I did government and community relations. Started with the Lightning, probably 90% of what I was doing was the government relations, 10% was community relations. Over the 3-year time period I was there, it kind of flipped. I was doing a lot more community relations versus government relations. Every board I served on, they would look at my background and said, you should serve on our government relations committee. So I kept giving all this free advice. And literally, Kim, one day I went home and told my wife, I'm like, do you think people would pay me to do this? I have this kind of unique skill set, right? Because people hire lobbyists for, two reasons at the end of the day. Yes, you can, being a good person, a community leader, all those things kind of sets the table for why they want to hire you.
Yeah.
But there's really 2 reasons at the end of the day. A, you have the relationships to get things done at the local level or the state level. We do no federal lobbying, by the way. I say we do federal. We do very little federal lobbying. Probably 70% of what we do state, 30% is local government.
That's probably good. That's probably a good idea not to do the federal.
Yeah, amen. So
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you don't have to spend a lot of time watching, right?
Especially right now. So number 1 is obviously having the relationships to get things done, and number 2 is understanding the process, having the knowledge of the process to be able to get things done. Because look, you worked for IBM. A lot of times you have these large companies that will come to you going, look, we know we have an issue in Tallahassee, or we know we have an issue with Hillsborough County or the city of Tampa or Pinellas County. They don't know how to deal with it. They know there's an issue. They know that something's coming. It could be a policy issue. It could be a preparation issue. And having that really knowledge of the process to be able to sit down with them, explain what their issue may be, and more importantly, developing a strategy to be able to address it.
Right. I was kind of known, in my career, I was kind of known at IBM as the fixer. I went into situations where the relationship was not where it needed to be, and they wanted it fixed. So I was very good at going into that kind of situation, assessing, who's who in the zoo, and then figuring out the strategy to put the relationship back where it needed to be. And then I was kind of ready to move on. I kind of like that idea of just, going in, spending the time, getting it set, and moving on. So that, I think people don't understand what lobbyists really do. Because I'm going to say this even though it's a little bit sensitive, but I think you'll understand. I think a lot of people have a dim view of lobbyists.
Yep.
They blame them for a lot of things. And I think that might behoove us to spend a few minutes, really helping them understand, here's what lobbyists do in a situation like the legislature, or the county government, where you're looking to get things accomplished.
Yep. Well, and to your point, by the way, I think lobbyists and even elected officials have that kind of negative connotation. But, if you rephrase it as a public servant for elected officials, people see them completely different. Or from a lobbying standpoint would say is, we're community leaders because a lot of the things that we do benefit our community. There's been project after project or public policy after public policy that we've been involved with that have impacted our community. So what does the lobbyist do at the end of the day? We become kind of the voice for that not-for-profit or that company. So I'm going to just pick a couple. So, for example, High Five out over in eastern Hillsborough County, old BSAC, everybody knows it as the Brandon Sports and Aquatic Center. They've rebranded as High Five.
Right.
A few years ago, they approached us about the opportunity to try to get some additional dollars from Hillsborough County to either number 1, build a new pool, and number 2, refurbish one of their current. That's an old facility, needs a lot of love. And so Hillsborough County's got a relationship with them. The sheriff's office has a relationship with them. So the way we're to come to, we came to Hillsborough County with the plan saying, give us these additional dollars for the then Brandon Sports and Aquatic Center. And what we'll do is we'll do a learn to swim program to make sure that we're reaching out to students in Title I schools, which, by the way, if you look at kids that have been drowning in Hillsborough County for the last, decade and beyond, a lot of them are from low-income families.
Well, sure.
So giving them free swim lessons.
Yeah.
The short answer is we were successful in getting the dollars to be able to do that. And I tell my team all the time, there's a child walking around Brandon today, or Eastern Hillsborough County today, that probably we saved their life, not even knowing we saved their life, because they went to the Brandon Sports and Aquatic Center, now High Five, to be able to get a swim lesson. So if it's Florida Aquarium we work with, trying to get dollars for them. Visit Tampa Bay, which is your neighbor right around the corner here.
Right.
Making sure from a public policy standpoint, when there's issues introduced in Tallahassee that's impacting the tourism industry, we become their eyes and ears and make sure that legislators know the impact. We talked about words matter, the impact of how these public policies are going to impact organizations that these elected officials have relationships with back home. So one of the biggest things we do, by the way, at the very beginning of, if you came to us today and said, Ron, we have this public policy issue, what should we do? The first thing you need to do is build a relationship with your elected officials. That's the very first thing we tell everybody is make sure you know your elected officials, they know who you are, know your story. Once they know that, then you can come back with whatever that ask may be. But I'm a big believer on making sure that all of our clients that we represent, they know their local elected officials. Then you build from there, right? You make sure that, if you have an issue that's education, you make sure they then know the education chairs, House and Senate leadership, or the chair of the county commission, whoever that may be, but understanding they should know their local elected officials first.
I know a lot of your clients, but I can't emphasize that enough, that and this is for even just regular citizens and taxpayers in this county, for pity's sake, know who is representing you on the local level and at the state level in Tallahassee. It makes a huge difference, and it's so easy to find. You just go to votehillsboro.org and put your name in or your address, and boom, up it comes, and it'll tell you everything you need to know about who's representing you at each level of government.
Yeah, and I'm
all right up to the feds.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer of that. Is a lot of folks don't engage with their elected officials thinking that, well, it's not going to have an impact. It will have an impact. As a former staffer that used to work for elected officials, I will tell you, your emails and your phone calls, and you're sitting down with them and sharing your questions or concerns on public policy as it's moving through the process can and will have an impact. And I will tell you, from a business community standpoint, I am a big believer of the business community getting engaged in public policy.
Right.
I think chambers of commerce, one of the most important roles they play at the end of the day is becoming the voice of business, and it deals with public policy. I tell small businesses, not-for-profits all the time, one vote of the county commission, one vote of the city council, one vote of the legislature, one vote of Congress could have such a huge impact on your business. And if you're not engaged, or more importantly, engaged with an organization that can educate you, you're going to miss the boat.
Well, and we saw that happen several times this year already, right? Where big impact from one vote in several occasions. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, if you're championing, well, you spent a lot of time in Tallahassee. I know. I spent more time in Tallahassee this year than I had anticipated. But what amazed me was that once you get through the security screening and into the building, you virtually can go anywhere you want. You can talk to anybody you want to. You can wander into offices. I mean, when I saw you up there one day, I was in Ruson's office sitting in the intern's chair. I can't tell you how many people, because I was just looking for places. I can't tell you if you'd have walked in the office and started to hand me something as if I was the intern. I'm going, I'm just a visitor like you. But they would come in and they would say to his legislative aides, I just want to see the senator. And they were like, well, take a seat,
Yep. I think people are amazed. And we have clients that come in town all the time from out of state, and they tell me all the time, if you look at the access that our citizens have in Tallahassee compared to other state capitals, it's absolutely amazing.
It is. And Tom Lee was in the chair not long ago, and he said, used to be, Kim, you could stroll in any door. There was no controls anywhere, and you could stroll in. And I'm amazed at the people that just go up there, spend a week up in Tallahassee, just strolling the whole time, talking to people. And he said that has tightened up a little bit, but basically, once you make it through that first security, you can wander all over.
And people ask me all the time, if I'm going to Tallahassee, how do I get in front of these elected officials? If you actually email their staff, which is all on the website. If you go to the Florida House website or the Florida Senate website, look who the House member or the senator you're trying to meet with, go to email their staff saying, I'm going to be in Tallahassee on this date representing this organization on this issue. If you're a constituent and they know that you're driving 4 hours to go to Tallahassee for that meeting, 9 out of 10 times they're going to take that meeting, because it's, you're, again, that constituent's making that time to come up there, be engaged, be involved. But you have to do it in advance. Don't do it the week of.
Right.
Do it the week before. Typically, if you email them the week before, again, 9 out of 10 times you're probably going to get on their schedule.
I appreciate you sharing that, because I bet a lot of people don't understand that. If you're just joining me now, in the chair is Ron Pierce, who is the President and CEO of RSA Consulting. He's our guest today on Connecting with Kim, and we are just having such a great time learning about the world of lobbying and the kind of community involvement that goes along with that. So you started with yourself and 3 clients, right?
Yep.
So what was your biggest surprise when you started your own business? What was the thing that stands out?
Well, I think number one, and you probably did this when you went with IBM. So when I left the Lightning, people kept telling me, so your Rolodex was gonna expand. And I was amazed, by the way. So when I left government to go work for the Tampa Bay Lightning, literally my Rolodex, almost doubled. Then when I left the Tampa Bay Lightning to start RSA, I just think I was amazed how my network supported me and really embraced the opportunity, because I was very, very fortunate. I had so much success right out of the gate. And Natalie King, who is now my business partner and the CEO of RSA, she was working for Tom Pepin at the time over at Pepin Distributing Company. I kidded with her when I started the company. I'm like, well, if I grow fast enough, I'll have to, create a position and hire you. Jokingly said that to her. With the 6 months, I came back to her and said, okay, I've grown quick enough and I'm ready to hire my first employee. So I just think, number one, the success I had so quickly. Then number two is, Kim, I would have never imagined, like when I started RSA, that we'd be one of the larger lobbying firms out of the state of Florida, based out of Tampa, by the way. People always ask me, like, so you're a lobbying firm, why are you based in Tampa Bay and not in Tallahassee, which we do have an office up there, but our clients are here. Right. We're only in Tallahassee when the legislature's there, which obviously during committee weeks and during sessions. So, but I think probably the biggest surprise was the growth that we had, and number two is, it started with me and 3 clients to having 10 people today working for me, and you've talked about my client list. We're very blessed to have the clients that we have. We have the opportunity to represent at the local and state level.
If someone goes to your website and scroll, they will see you have quite a diverse client list, which I really love that. It's a credit to you, because I used to tell all my junior people at IBM this, time and time and time again. It's simple. People do business with people they like. Yep. It's not more complicated than that, right? Yep. They don't teach you that in business school, because, we only hired from business schools and the top 10 universities. I'm like, that's what it's all about. If they don't identify with you, if they don't have a relationship with you, if they don't feel comfortable with you, they're not going to do business with you. Yep. It's just, you have the greatest product in the world, but if you can't get them to be receptive to that.
And I think our reputation as community leaders have gone a long way with that. Absolutely. I think that people understand that we have a sterling reputation in Tallahassee, which I'm very proud of. Elected officials know that when we say something, it's going to be the truth. We're very good at explaining both sides of an issue when we walk in the door. We're not going to mislead them in any way, because look, you have one reputation. The moment you start tarnishing that reputation, you can't fix that, especially with elected officials, because they're gonna talk. I am a big believer, when you talk about our client list, is giving back to our community, and the way we do that is working with so many different not-for-profits.
Right.
If it's Center Place in Brandon, which I know you're on the board of, if it's Echo, which is, now they're a client, they had their community breakfast this morning. If it's United Way, if it's a local charter school, if it's High Five, if it's Miracles Outreach, an organization that works with young girls that have been human trafficked. We typically either do it either free or at a very reduced rate, because number one, that's our way of being able to give back to the community, right, and making sure these not-for-profits have a voice in Tallahassee.
So let me ask you this: have you ever had anybody come to you wanting to be your client that you just said, mm-mm?
Yeah, so we've had a few, because where we are at this point in time is a lot of lobbying firms do a lot of RFPs, by the way. Mm-hmm. They go after RFPs. We do not, by the way. The majority of our client base has been word of mouth. But we are now at a place as a firm is we make sure we work with people that we want to work with, and they align, by the way, with our values and kind of the culture we've developed as an organization. And yes, there's been a couple clients over the year that come to us and we've kind of thought either A, it's not a good fit, or we have taken them on and realized that these are just people that we don't want to work with in the long run. We'll do what we've said we're going to do within a very short time period within the contract, and then at that point decide, what, it's probably best we go separate ways.
So all your clients come to you and you work on a contractual basis.
We do.
Is there a set period of time? Is it a year or 2 years? Was it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the majority of our clients start off as 1 year, as a 1 year contract, and then what I'm very proud of and we're so blessed at is if you look at our client list, we have, a big chunk of our client list has been clients for 5 and 10 and some of them for 12 and 13 years.
Yeah.
And so those clients have grown from being just a 1 year client to some of them are signing, 3 or 4 or 5 year contracts at this point, which I'm very proud of.
You should be proud of that. I'm proud for you. Let me ask, so I'm sitting here thinking, they come to you, they want to be your client, you decide it's a fit, you sign a contract, because I think we ought to, let's cover the categories of clients that you have, because they're not going to know that unless they go to your website. So let's work through the different kind of clients you have.
Sure. We're considered a contract lobbying firm, which basically means is we have the ability to work with a number of industries. Some lobbying firms are very specific. They only work on healthcare. They only work on construction. We work on everything. So let me start kind of with, we do a lot of the construction industry. So if it's commercial with Associated Builders and Contractors, if it's with associations like FRACA, which is the Florida Refrigeration and Air Conditioning Association. It's a long one. Yeah. There are home building clients, Homes by West Bay, which is based here in Hillsborough County. If it's Highland Homes, which are kind of different ends of the one's more high level homes. The
Different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, so the other one's kind of more, beginning, kind of that $250,000 to $300,000 home. If it's education, we do a ton of the education space with charter schools and different associations. Helios Education Foundation, which is a neighbor of yours as well. We do some work with them. They're based in Arizona here in Tampa. If you look at sports and entertainment, we do a lot in the sports and entertainment world. Healthcare, we do a lot in healthcare. I'll just name a couple of healthcare clients. We do Florida Association of Community Health Centers. They're an organization that works with 54 local community health centers across the state. 70% of their population is low-income individuals that are either on Medicaid or uninsured. We represent 5 local community health centers on top of that. We also represent Advent Health, Baycare Health Systems, Moffitt Cancer Center, just to name a few.
Well, those are heavies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's great is
who are building a lot right now.
Yeah,
in our community.
And they're building a lot, and they're obviously the things that they do on a daily basis is life changing. So we're very proud to be a part of them as well.
So let me ask you, what is the biggest reward in your job? What turns you on, lights your fire, and makes you say at the end of the day, yay?
So number one is it's something different every day. What I love about my day is I never live the same day. So
that's what I loved about my job too. Never live the same day.
That's number one. Number two is being able to solve problems. I mean, we put out fires all day long. That's what we do. People come to us with a problem, and so for us, being able to use our relationships, our knowledge of the process to be able to solve that issue. I love to be able to do that. Absolutely love to do that. And I love when it's, not, some are harder than others, right? Sometimes, it's hard to go to Tallahassee and get 61 votes in the House or 21 votes in the Senate. And sometimes with the county commission, it's hard to go get 4 votes. But using our relationships and really getting an outcome that the client wants, that makes it all worthwhile for me, especially the ones that we have the ability to bring things home that truly have an impact on our local community. So again, kind of working for those not-for-profit or smaller clients that we have the ability to work with. Because we, Tampa Bay Lightning, we work with Uber, we do a lot of the transportation space as well.
Right.
PSTA over in Pinellas County. Working with larger organizations like that is incredible, but again, working with those not-for-profits and really making an impact there, that's something that I enjoy on a daily basis.
Well, I love that. I love that that's important to you and important to your firm, because a lot of people go into business for themselves and they set 5-year plans and very lofty goals, and sometimes they achieve them, sometimes they don't. But you know, it's not about just getting bigger and bigger and bigger,
Yeah.
right? So we are almost out of time. I can't believe how fast this has gone. So when session starts, give me an understanding of how much time you spend up in Tallahassee when session starts.
Typically, I go up on a Sunday, come back on a Thursday. Typical days, I'm normally in the office at 7 o'clock and home by 10 o'clock that night. That's like a normal day in Tallahassee.
Wow.
Yep.
That's a lot.
Yep. And it's not just, you know, and it's, you know, one thing I love about the team that I've built too, it gives me to do other things outside of RSA. I teach at USF.
I know. I know you do.
So I teach at USF. I teach a local and state government class that goes along with the legislative internship program and the Tallahassee internship program, which I love those programs. I'm on the state board of directors of FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America. I chair their board of directors. They just had their state leadership conference over in Orlando. So being able to get involved in those organizations, talk about going back to your community, but impacting organizations that impact young leaders, I'm all about getting involved in those groups.
Well, I can't tell you how, what a pleasure it's been to have you on the show. You have to come back because we didn't cover everything I wanted to talk about.
Absolutely. I would enjoy the opportunity.
Well, we would enjoy having you. So that's all we have time for today on Connecting. Kim, we want to thank you for joining us. And we want you to come back next week because, as you know, I work hard every week to bring you information about people, places, and things that will help you live your best life in our corner of paradise. And we know it is because Ron said it is. And I believe that too. And I want to thank you. Please support my sponsor, the Spring of Tampa Bay. They have a thrift store on North Willow. They're going to have new digs this year, which we're going to tell you about. But all their net proceeds support their mission, which is providing safe spaces and empowering services to survivors of domestic violence and their children. And we love our association with them so much. So we'll see you. Come back next week. Thanks so much.